Hey friends, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm happy to have you here with me today. We are going to make something just for fun today, and I find that that's really important to kind of keep up my motivation and inspiration in the kitchen. I've shared this before, but there's a lot of other things I would rather be doing than cooking, but making good food for my family is really important. So I do it a lot, 3 times a day, most days. So I really want to try to do things to just keep it fun. The recipe that we're going to make today is inspired by Teagen Gerard's recipe for banana ice cream cake. So I'm going to make a homemade banana ice cream cake with homemade ice cream, but I am going to also make a caramel sauce. So it's going to be a salted caramel banana ice cream cake with pretzel crust. So it's probably going to be really good. Even just saying those words makes me salivate. So the first thing that we're going to do is get the ice cream going. I already made 1 batch of ice cream this morning because my ice cream maker is a Whitner, and you can see it back over there. It only does around 4 cups of ice cream at a time, and I needed a double batch. So I made 1 batch of vanilla ice cream this morning, and we're going to get the second batch of vanilla ice cream going right now. This ice cream maker takes an hour from start to finish to make ice cream, but I like to chill mine, and I'll talk about that when we get to that point, for half an hour before it goes into the ice cream maker. So we want to get it going now because it's going to take us a little bit of time. First thing that we're going to do is grab a saucepan around this size of saucepan. This 1/2 cup measure is what fits inside of my, or in the mouth of my gallon jar, but I guess I could just be dumping that right in there and count from there, but this is going to be easier for me to keep track. So we're going to do 3 cups of the cream and then 1 cup of whole milk. With this recipe, you can adjust the cream to milk ratio depending on what you like. I've just played around with this enough, and this is the kind of creaminess level that we like. I find that if I use all cream, it's a little bit too creamy and leaves a little bit of a coating in our mouths. So the extra cup of milk does seem to help with that. So the reason that we're going to chill this is that when we put it right into the ice cream maker without chilling it, it tends to form ice crystals in the ice cream, whereas if we chill it first, it doesn't do that. That looks good. So there's our 3 cups or so, give or take, of our cream, and then our 1 cup of milk. So I guess since I just took all the cream off of this, this isn't technically whole milk. It's more like a skim milk. Since I just skimmed the cream off of it, there's still quite a bit of cream in there. So we're gonna pop this back in the fridge because this is raw milk. We are going to add a pinch of salt to this. I find salt is really important when making ice cream to make it taste really good. We're also going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar. So you can adjust the amount of sugar. You could add maple syrup for your sweetening if you like, or maple sugar even, but I really like it with a 1/2 cup of, or sorry, a 1/4 cup of cane sugar. So we're gonna bring this over to the stove and get it heating up. And while that is heating up, we are going to separate some eggs, and we need 4 egg yolks for this recipe. So 1 egg yolk per cup of cream. This makes the yummiest, creamiest ice cream. It's so good. Ooh, whoa. Oh dear, oh dear. 1 sec. It's hard to pay attention when I'm talking to the camera and sharing with you what I'm doing and actually doing it at the same time. Oh my goodness. So now we want our milk to get hot, or cream and milk, just enough to dissolve our sugars. And then we're going to take our eggs, which we beat with a fork, and we're going to drizzle this in. So the reason that we want to do this is so that we don't have big chunks of cooked egg in our ice cream. You can go 1 step further and strain this after you're finished adding the egg to it, just in case you have any chunks. I haven't found that to be really important. Occasionally there might be a little piece in there, but usually not. So we're just going to keep mixing this in until it's mixed in well, and then this is going to start to thicken, and I turn off the heat at this point because there's usually enough heat left on the element to finish cooking this. So just until it starts to thicken. And then you're gonna take your ice cream maker insert and dump this in. And then we're going to chill this until it's all the way cold, and then we'll put it in our ice cream maker. I have had many requests lately for my bread recipe, so I'm going to share that with you. And I've also had many requests for what my thoughts are now that I've been using the Ankerstrom mixer for, it's actually called the Ankerstrom Assistant, but it's a mixer. So I'm calling it the Ankerstrom mixer, kind of what my thoughts are now that I've been using it for quite a while. You know, because I've said this in many videos, that I love it. I do love it. It is fantastic. So a couple of the things about this mixer that I think are important to know if you are considering purchasing one is that it is a little bit of a learning curve, especially for bread making. The other mixing bowl, which is right here, is pretty much just your standard mixing bowl, and this operates similarly to other mixers that you've probably used. But the bread making bowl, which is the stainless steel one, does operate a bit differently. It does have a kind of traditional hook that you would be used to using in most other mixers, and this one sets in like so. The thing that kind of makes this mixer a little bit different than other mixers I've used or other mixers I've seen on the market is this lovely tool here. This goes on the mixer like so, and that is actually what kneads your bread dough. It also has a scraper attachment here, which is fantastic, and keeps the dough scraped off. One of the other things that's different about this is that I just leave my dough in here. I don't oil another bowl and throw it in for rising. And then it has this lid that goes on top, and I love that so much. But this way of making bread with this particular attachment did take me a little while to get used to, and just to kind of work with the mixer a little bit and kind of figure out its quirks, because all kitchen equipment and kitchen appliance kind of have their things, right? One of the things about this mixer that is recommended is to add all of your liquid ingredients and your yeast into the bowl first, and then add your flour. So I'm going to add a tablespoon, a good tablespoon of yeast into this bowl, and 4 cups of warm water. Remember, when you're making bread, you don't want it to be too warm because you don't want to kill your yeast. You do want it to be warm enough though to create the perfect environment for your yeast to grow. So 4 cups. I honestly usually use a quart jar, but I don't have a quart jar in my kitchen at the moment, which is highly unusual. And this recipe that I'm going to show you will give you 3 good sized loaves of bread. Then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of olive oil. And you can see I'm really accurate with my measuring, but if you follow these measurements, like the measurements I'm telling you, you will end up with a decent couple loaves of bread. So we have our liquid ingredients in here now. Now we're going to make sure that we have our flour handy. So I'm going to be using a mix of white organic flour, all-purpose flour here, and some whole wheat sprouted flour here. And I'm going to start by turning my mixer on. One of the other things I do like about this mixer is it has a timer on the dial, so you can set it for whatever time you want to knead your bread. So I'm going to add around 1.5 cups of, that's about right, of the sprouted flour into here. And I always add my whole wheat flour first. I don't know why I do that, I just do it that way. At this point, I'll show you. So when it is at this point where you're just mixing in just at the beginning, you can just kind of encourage it with a spoon to move around the bowl. It's not necessary to do that, I just do. It will eventually mix in as you add your other flour. And in with our flour, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. And then we're going to add 1 cup at a time, around 6 cups, give or take, of our all-purpose flour. I never actually measure my flour, but I did the other day so that I would have measurements to share with you, so that I would know approximately how much flour I add. So I have the 1.5 cups of the sprouted flour or whole wheat flour, and you could just use exclusively white flour with this as well. and then around 6 cups or so. So here, let's see if I can show you this. So this is what it's going to start looking like. So as you can see, this is kneading it right from the very beginning of adding all the flour, which is what mixing it in by hand and giving it a good stir is going to do before you actually do your kneading for your 8 to 10 minutes. But this does a pretty good job of starting the kneading process, of activating all that gluten right from the very beginning. So at this point, I am gonna turn this off and just kind of feel where I'm at as far as the flour, and I can definitely add at least 1 more cup. And at this point, I'm going to set my timer for 8 minutes so it can just start kneading. So this mixer is more similar as far as its kneading to hand kneading than say a KitchenAid mixer. So if you're gonna use that kind of mixer or like a hook like this, you tend to only need to knead for half the amount of time that the recipe recommends kneading by hand. And this I find to be a little bit more consistent with hand kneading. So I usually will knead for up to 8 minutes with this mixer. And one of the other things that I do find is sometimes I will need to give it just kind of a little push down with my fingers, not very often, but sometimes I will need to. It's doing fine. So my one complaint with this mixer is that this bowl that they send for making whipping cream and cookies is plastic. It's made out of plastic, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's not the sturdiest plastic in the world. It doesn't feel super sturdy, and I don't think this is probably going to last in my house for terribly long. They do have a glass bowl option, which I am going to purchase when this one bites the dust because I just like the idea of having a glass bowl better, and I just know it's going to last longer. But I guess that seems kind of a weird thing to say because glass would be more fragile, but this just feels like it's probably, and actually you can already see in the bottom that there's a couple of cracks there. So I would recommend that if you are going to buy this, that you do upgrade to a glass bowl, unless you don't mind the plastic one. But I just feel like that probably could be an upgrade that would be a reasonable addition to a mixer that has a price point like this one. I'm not affiliated or anything with Enquiries themselves, but the company that I bought this from did offer a discount code for you guys for $25 off of anything in their store, and they sell all kinds of lovely kitchen appliances. So if you are interested in buying an Enquiries, I know they have them in stock right now, and they have a whole bunch of different colors of them. I do have that code, and I'll put it down in the show notes below. Either the show notes or the pinned comment. Somewhere down there it'll be. So now I'm just going to turn this off again and just check where we are with that. So that's actually good. I'm just going to leave this now to knead for probably 4 or 5 more minutes. And then I'll let it rise, and we'll make some bread in a little bit. Depending on the ratio of whole wheat to white flour that I use, or if I'm using all whole wheat flour, I do 2 rises. So I'll rise, I'll punch it down and fold it over a few times, redistribute those yeasts, and then let it rise again for another hour. And then I form my loaves, and then I let it rise again. For one like this, I might do that. We'll decide that later on. It just makes for a nicer crumb in the bread, I find. But we'll see, because sometimes if I'm short on time, I just do the 1 rise. And this one actually is mostly white flour. Now all we have to do is take our lid, pop it on, set our timer for 1 hour, and get our mess all cleaned up. I have the worst habit of getting dressed in the morning in, you know, a decent pair of pants or something like that, and then going out to check on something outside in the barn or the greenhouse, not intending to stop and do any work. And then 2 hours later, I've been working out in my good pants out in the garden or wherever. So actually remember to change into something that I can work outside with in case I decide to get into something. It rained a little bit last night, which is fantastic. Starting to green things up a little bit. So where do you want to go first? Should we go down on check on the chicks and the turkeys, or into the greenhouse? I'm gonna guess you wanna go to the barn first. So let's do that. I love when it's rained and then the sun comes out the next day and the whole world seems happy about it. All the birds are singing and everything turns green. It's beautiful. Let's see if we can see the sheep. Oh, they're way down there. I don't know if you can see them way down over there. So we are actually going to have to, in the next couple of days, put out their solar hot wire pen because they don't want to stay up in the field or in the pasture that we have for the cows, because they can just fit right underneath the fence and we don't want them eating all the hay. So let's see, how's everybody looking? Hey guys, how are y'all? Nobody's too hot in there. So I'm just kind of looking to see if they're panting, which would mean that they were too hot, or if they're like all bunched together in under the light, which would mean they're too cold, but we don't have that as an issue, as you can see. Checking the water and the feed. Does look like they could use some feed. Oh no, there's enough left in there for a little bit. So I think I can probably pull this one back and let it cool off even a little bit more in there. And we've got our little turkey babies in under there. Hi guys. So the reason that I have all of these covers all over here is, number one, for warmth, because we're still getting pretty cold at night, and the boards over top definitely help keep them warmer, but it's also to help keep any predators out. I have been raising chicks in here for years and years and years and have never had an issue until the other night when one of my kids said that they saw a wild cat. So we have the couple of feral cats in the area, come out of the barn with a chick in its mouth. And my cat, so I have barn cats, as you know, and they never touch the chicks. So needless to say, I needed to cover them up so that we didn't lose any more to the cat. Okay, really better open up my greenhouse. I'll bet you it is just cooking in there. My heaters are supposed to be thermostatically controlled and turn off when it gets hot, but I noticed the last couple of days they were still going when I went in there, and it was hot, very hot. I just realized that there's a slight clinking sound from these. I'm a very sound sensitive person, and so any kind of like clinking or tapping or anything like that drives me bonkers. We have been able to do so much more work on our garden earlier than we ever have before, which is kind of great because all the beds are pretty much ready to go, but we're getting some weeds in here. So like perennial grasses and some annual weeds as well. And these are just super easy to deal with when there aren't any plants coming up or seeds planted in a bed. I can manually pull out the perennial weeds and then just go through with my stirrup hoe and disturb the very top layer of the soil and pull out all those little tiny baby weeds. So by the time I'm actually planting in here, hopefully I'll be pretty much on top of the weeds. We'll see. Okay, whew, yeah, it's warm in here. Oh yes, we're at oh, you're all fogged up. So yes, we are at 30 degrees Celsius in here. I'll tell you the Fahrenheit in just a sec. We're gonna need to do a little bit of watering in here, it looks like. So it looks like 30 is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So we do need to go grab some water. I cannot wait until I can run a hose down here. We are close to that point. Let's give everybody a soak. The tomatoes have sure perked up, hey? Oh, this one is so beautiful. This is a variegated tomato, and I have never grown one of these before, but can you see the variegation in the leaves? This one's called Marina's Praise, and this is a seed from Moonglow Gardens in Alberta, who I just adore and love supporting so much. I think what I might do is put my baby lavenders in a pot and grow them in the high tunnel, but in a pot so that I can bring them in the house in the fall. I've tried to overwinter them a couple of times without very much success, I must say. These abundance kale are just crazy. Look at how big these guys are. So this is seed that I have been collecting for, I think I'm on to my 3rd year of seed collecting from my own plants. This was a seed that I bought originally from West Coast Seeds, I don't know, 6, maybe 7 years ago now. And they stopped producing them, and whoever it was that was originally producing them stopped producing them. And I was pretty sure it was a hybrid, so I wanted to collect seeds for enough years that I would be able to determine whether the seed was going to produce a consistent offspring. And I'm happy to say that we're at that point now where all of the babies that I'm getting from my own seed are consistent year after year. So I will probably be able to offer a small number of these seeds for sale this year, because I know a lot of you have wanted them and have asked me for them over the years, but I really did not want to sell them until I was sure that they were going to actually breed true. And also, to be honest, I was waiting to see whether the company that I originally bought them from would start selling them again, but so far no. So I have to look into kind of what the legalities are around like seed saving and then selling seeds that you save, as far as, it's not copyright, what is it, patent, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to contact the company. I do have a couple of contacts with the company that I originally bought my seeds from, and just to find out about that and see if I can contact the original producer of these seeds as well, because I just love it. The reason that I love the abundance kale, let me show you, is because the leaves are really soft, so a little bit more like a spinach texture than, say, like a Ducabor kind of kale that has a much, I would almost say, meatier, fibrous leaf. So these ones steam really nicely, and I think they're absolutely delicious. And they grow into the craziest plants that are like this tall. They're huge and super prolific. So hopefully I can either source them from you guys, from whoever it was that was originally breeding these seeds, or I can sell you my own. That would be kind of cool. I have never done anything like that before. Gotta go grab another bucket of water. Okay, I have something else to show you in the garden. Look what we have. Baby garlics. And I planted a ton of different varieties of garlic last year, so I'm excited to see how they turn out right through the leaves. I'm actually going to have to pull my hose out and give these a really good water because they are so darn dry. I'm going to leave the mulch on them for probably another couple weeks before I pull it off, but there's something else I want to show you over here. This is where I grew my garlic last year, and as you can see, I have some coming up there, some coming up there, and here, and randomly here. And you can see how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different plants growing up, because this was an entire bulb of garlic that was left in the ground. So what I did last year that actually worked really well is I just dug them up at this stage and replanted them. And they were a tiny bit smaller than the ones that were planted with just the single bulb, but not enough to make a significant difference, and I still got lots of garlic out of it. So I have quite a few that are growing. So I'm going to be able to plant probably, I would guess, 15 or 20 more garlic plants out of all these ones that I missed, which is great. I grew a lot less, or planted a lot less garlic than I thought that I did last year. So I thought I had planted this entire row, which I did, this whole row and this whole row, but I only did this row and a little bit of this row. So I'm going to be able to at least probably fill to the halfway mark with all of that garlic that's coming up from last year's garlic. So that's going to be something that I'm probably going to get to later on today. It's super easy. I'll actually just quickly show you how I do it with one of them. So we're just going to pull it up like so. Shake off the soil, and you can see all of them here. So all we're going to do now is pull these apart, just tease them apart really gently, and then we'll just plant these in the ground. So we're going to dig our hole down so that we can just hang our roots in there, and then fill in our soil around it, tamp it down. See, this is why I had to change. I always end up like this in the garden. Put our mulch back around there again, and then I'm going to give these a water. So I have one other thing to show you. I'm not sure if we've been down here since we started laying the weed barrier down. So that was the area that I had some of my kids' gardens that no longer want to do their own garden patch, and they kind of had been overrun by cut grass. So we have that all covered up, and that'll stay covered for a good year. And then the same with the beds along the side of the garden. The grass kind of encroaches in the garden from the side, so I did that last year and it was really effective. And then we also started back here. Oh, actually I have two things to show you. Check this out. This is my Egyptian walking onion little patch here, and these bulbs were sent to me by one of you back last fall, and I planted them and just held out hope. And look, we have some baby Egyptian walking onions coming up here. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to grow these for a long time, and I just have this on top because my chickens were coming in here and scratching, and I didn't want these little bulbs to get scratched up, so I just covered it with that. We've got some chives coming. I just transplanted these over here this spring, so they're looking a little sad. And then we have the trim on the greenhouse and the rest of the plastic, which is exciting. And we have some little microgreen lettuce growing in here. And these were pea sprouts, but as you can see, they did get a little bit of frost damage on the top. And that is my fault, because I came out here the other day and I took the plastic covers. These are the covers that I've been using, which have been absolutely fantastic. Cannot recommend them more. But anyway, I took them off during the day because it's getting pretty hot in here now that all the plastic is on the high tunnel. And then I got a migraine that night, and I just completely forgot to come and cover them again. And it's amazing how a little cover like that can completely protect a plant from frost, because the frost got those ones. So I'm actually gonna pull those ones out and give them to my chickens. But the lettuce we're gonna eat, and I'm excited about that. Okay, that was lovely, but it is time to head back up to the house. Okay, friends, back inside. Clicky overalls off, and our bread has risen beautifully. So what I'm gonna do with this is give my nails a scrub, because I was out in the dirt. And I was planning on doing a second rise with this bread, which I like doing with whole wheat bread, but I think I'm actually just gonna form these loaves now. I don't know what it is about the stainless steel bowl, but I don't have to grease it when I rise my bread in it. I really want to get to making that ice cream cake. I just think it's going to be kind of fun and easy to put together, and my kids are gonna think they died and went to heaven, because it's gonna be really good. How could it not be? Caramel, pretzels, bananas, ice cream. It sounds like the perfect combination to me. Okay, it's time to make our cake. We are going to take our pretzels and go throw them in the food processor. Okay, so we're gonna go for around that texture there, and then we're gonna add some melted butter to this. And I don't have an exact recipe for this, I'm just kind of winging it based on the, I think it was a reel or something that I saw on Instagram. So I'm melting around just over a quarter cup of butter. I'm just running the ice cream maker again for a couple of minutes because the ice cream did start to melt a little bit. So we have our melted butter. I think I might need a little bit more butter. Okay, we have a little bit more butter. We're gonna add to that. Okay, now we're gonna take this delicious smelling butter pretzel situation and we're going to dump it into here. Okay, just like so. So this ice cream is super duper soft, but I actually want it that way for this bottom layer because these pretzels aren't really stuck together. So I want to pour this on and then I'm going to freeze this while we work on the caramel sauce into the freezer. So now we are going to take just about a cup of butter. Get that melting on the stove. We need some brown sugar, some salt, a little bit of vanilla, and some heavy cream. So I want to make sure that I make this kind of a runny enough sauce that it's not going to kind of freeze into a hard chunk. So I want to make sure that I don't bring the sugar up, or the sugar and the milk, the sugar and the butter up to too high of a temperature. Otherwise, it will candy, and we don't want that. We want it to be at the soft ball stage, tops. So I'm going to add a cup of packed brown sugar. You could absolutely do this recipe with store-bought ice cream, of course. You don't have to make it homemade. A pinch of salt. So we're gonna let that sizzle for a few minutes, and then we're gonna add our cream. Okay, we have some caramel, and so now we're gonna add a little bit of our heavy cream to this. Oh, I guess we'll turn our element off over here. It gets very excited when you add the cream, just be warned of that. And we have caramel. And then I'm going to lay them in the center of the ice cream cake and drizzle some of the caramel sauce on top of them, and then put another layer of ice cream. I don't know how many I'm going to use, but I'm doing 6. Okay, I feel like that's probably enough. We'll grab the cake. So we're just gonna add a little bit of vanilla to our caramel. Okay, this is really melty. I would not recommend having it this melted when you're going to use ice cream. This is very, very, very soft. I probably wouldn't do it this soft again. So I'm just putting some, actually the one good thing about it being so soft is these bananas are kind of sinking into it. Okay, and then we have our ice cream that I made this morning. It's so yellow from our eggs. I'm just gonna drizzle some caramel over the top of this. So melted. And now the ice cream on the top of that. This is the perfect texture for doing this because it's easy to spread around, but it's still holding its shape. I'm gonna clean up this huge mess in my kitchen. I'll be back with you shortly. All right, so we had lunch, ate 2 loaves of bread. We have 1 loaf of bread left here, so I just wanted to show you what it looked like on the inside. So there we go, the inside of our bread. It's delicious. And now I think it is high time that we cut into our ice cream cake. So this has been sitting in the freezer for several hours and it's still really soft, but my kids have been waiting very patiently. So I've decided that we're going to cut it up now and enjoy a soft ice cream cake. I think this is gonna taste ridiculously good. Little caramel.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't that look good? What do you think?
That salty, sweet.
Salty, sweet, that perfect combination. Okay, so the vote is in. Everybody thinks it's absolutely delicious, so that is fantastic. The biggest thing that I would have done differently here is make sure that my ice cream was very chilled before I tried to make it, because the bottom part of the crust is a little bit softer than I would like. I'd like it to be a little bit crunchier. But other than that, this is insanely good. So, so good. I do have my ice cream recipe, or I should have it, over on my blog. If not, when this video comes out, within a day or 2, we'll have it. So all of the detailed kind of measurements and all that kind of stuff will be in there. I was thinking about all of the different variations I could do on an ice cream cake like this, like a Black Forest one with a cherry filling with a chocolate drizzle on the top, a coffee cake one with a coffee cake crumble on the top of it, I think would be fantastic as well. Mint chocolate chip would be really good. There's so many different cool things that you could do with an ice cream cake like this. I hope that you enjoyed being here with me today, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.